See how we do. Can you edit that? And
Yeah.
but Andrew, I'd like to give the whole,
Yeah, I won't separate it.
yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Do you feel like you talked about everything you wanted to in your?
I wanted to talk about this idea of Trump, and do you want to do it, and then you can edit that out.
I mean, you can if you want. Yeah, it's up to you. Um,
I'm do you know, now that I'm reading the Tao,
yeah.
you know that one of the things that I'm more prone to dive into
Right.
is nothingness. In other words, I'm beginning to understand that a lot of my efforts are pushing against reality in this very almost artificial way. And as I read the Tao, Andrew, I've only been doing it for 8 days now, but it's really had an effect on me. And you can see that I sort of stumble when I talk to a camera, but
That's fine. Yeah, it's.
I don't know. What's your feedback here?
Well, yeah, it is hard to just present because sometimes the mode is it's easier when we're talking.
Yes, yeah. But you're also a very easy person to talk to. You understand stuff, and I one of the things that I do when I talk to the camera is I feel like maybe people won't make the right connection.
Yeah, and I feel a little inadequate in terms of because normally what I feel like actually would be the best format is to have a podcast format, but the camera setup and everything is so different.
Yeah.
And I don't have the equipment for that right now.
Yeah.
Maybe, but
Yeah. Do you know, Andrew? I the other thing that's happening to me is I think I don't know if it's my age or if it's my mentality or it's what I'm reading, but I'm retreating into myself. And one of the things the Tao says that all insights are born in darkness.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's very.
Yeah, Buddhism. I don't know. They talk about the lotus flower or whatever.
Yeah.
It grows from the mud or something.
Right, and
it's like.
But what I feel about it, which is so interesting, is this that there's retreating into yourself is terribly comforting in some way, and it's also brave. It's also it doesn't have the, how you usually decide to do something.
I want to enjoy the company.
Oh, okay. Hey, girl. Hi. How are we doing?
She heard you talk about consciousness and stuff.
Yes, she really wants to.
She said, I want to join you.
She wants to contribute to this idea.
She's staring at the
She's looking at you, Andrew.
You make
Andrew, what's your response to a baby? What do you see?
This pure, unfettered innocence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they say that babies, because they don't have all the programming from side.
Yeah.
They're closer to source energy, and that's what we when we grow older we strive to kind of go back to that state.
Yeah.
Of carefreeness and
yeah. Or yeah. I like your word, the source energy. That's a good
not
word.
my idea, but yeah.
No, yeah, that's interesting. She's really checking you out, Andrew.
She was crying. I don't have a way to do that. Come join you guys.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
On consciousness?
Huh? See, I think, and it's just a deep suspicion in my weird little head, that she's tied into the ultimate consciousness. She knows.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but I also read that babies when like infants before the age of like 4 or whatever, or 8, their psychic abilities or whatever are still kind of there.
Yeah.
They don't have like the programming of society
这么
that like,
浪
oh, reality is this.
这么浪
Only science knows this. You know?
Yeah. They're not we train them to society and make them dumber.
That's
In a way, yeah,
Hey, what's the problem over there? What's the problem?
Huh?
Oh no. She's happy looking at Andrew. Andrew, you must have magical abilities.
I don't know what to do. She has not, you still want to look at Andrew? Peekaboo. I can do peekaboo.
Do you know that interaction seems to me to have power unto itself, you know?
She's teasing.
Yeah,
Then
she's
you have
that.
tease.
Yeah, that's difficult. You know, when they're teething and she's just uncomfortable.
What's teething?
You know, her teeth are coming in,
Oh,
and you can see it makes this red line of red soreness in her mouth. So it
Yeah.
must be very uncomfortable. You know.
Mm.
What I mean? Andrew, give me a reading on of what you thought, how I did there.
Well, I just think it's hard to present something that you're basically going off the cuff, like off memory.
Yeah.
And like I said, like it's probably a podcast format. Honestly, is the best, but I don't have the.
Do you know? In other words, I should respond more to your questions.
Well, I mean, cause like I bet you probably want to expand more on your things, cause like initially that was only like 10 minutes, all of those.
Wow.
You know, and you initially wanted like an hour maybe because of.
Yeah,
So-
you know, Andrew, I'm convinced I'm not good at this.
Well, it's also like it's again like this is the way we're doing it is it should be a podcast format honestly, but we don't have the cameras and like the mics and stuff for it because when they do podcasts they like it's usually just like me and you we're like talking but the camera's just like there or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just asking
Oh,
questions. You're just
yeah.
telling everything.
Yeah, and the camera's not.
Yeah.
It takes a secondary role.
Right. So you don't feel the pressure of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know,
usually have a
Andrew,
cable and stuff.
one of the things that I wanted to say was that I want to retreat into us becoming a student of the Tao Te Ching, and maybe you can still do stuff that whatever you want, but I want to retreat into that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think I'm becoming a recluse in my old age. You know what I mean? I'm getting this mentality of hiding.
Yeah, actually, the more you say that, sometimes like I was reflecting on this as well, and like on YouTube and stuff, and thinking about like maybe it's better to like we don't have like not forcing things or pushing things out. We need views. We need to be not like that. Just like
Yeah, I like what I said in the end of this, where I offered a alternative interpretation of what's happening in society.
right.
I think that was very good. Andrew, how much of this can you
John,
leave just the way it is?
Sorry.
Yes, sir?
sorry, this thing.
Oh, you need help?
Yeah, can you pick up?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't.
Oh, no, you're fine. Clean it up.
I didn't eat.
You know, I guess the other thing I'm admitting to is being so fragmented. You know,
What?
I'm going. One of the things that the Tao has informed me in this very obtuse way is reality is much more complex than I thought.
Mm.
I mean, that's what the Tao. It doesn't say that, but I see that about. In other words, I've operated. I think off of my ego, and my ego's relationship to the world. I've simplified everything. And as soon as you read the Tao, you think, Ooh, not so simple. Not so
Yeah.
simple. You have thoughts on
Well,
it?
I mean, like you, I actually feel like being a recluse as well, because I'm actually reading like a similar text.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
What you reading?
well, the Nostradamus book, Damus. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
if
yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
it,
yeah.
recently came,
That's
and
heavy shit.
like it's like I don't know if it's heavy. It's supposed to be heavy, but it's just like about other. The way I understand it is like other forms of knowing besides your intellect.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and like so because everybody says intuition, intuition, intuition. I'm like I don't even know what that is. How do I follow something or have a relationship with something if I don't like know
Yeah.
at least what it is for me? So
Do you know the other thing that the Tao suggests, but it doesn't say it, but it
right,
suggests it innately,
right,
is that you can use the mind any way you want. In other words,
yeah,
the mind has magical powers, but we've limited it to our communication
right,
and to solving problems and to going here and going there.
right,
We've really limited consciousness dramatically. But the truth of it is uh, there's incredible uh, intuitive powers to the mind that we have not opened.
yeah. I also read. I haven't gotten that far in the section, but this book was saying there's many minds, and I'm like, what? I haven't read it about yet, but like it's similar to like where it's oversimplifying things.
Yeah.
And like even like because everything in I think Western science or whatever is like oh the brain is like the most important,
Yeah.
but obviously other body parts, maybe even extra sensory stuff, whatever, have their own like intelligences and stuff.
Yeah. Do you
That,
know,
yeah,
you know what I've come to, Andrew? I do not think consciousness is here.
no, yeah, it's not.
It's
It's like
everywhere.
everywhere in our bodies.
And yeah, and it's everywhere in reality.
Right.
Yeah, it's it's real interesting that way. I, we don't know what consciousness depends upon. We only know that we
Yeah.
use it. We use it, and I think that in and of itself is a very interesting approach to.
Well, like it's like the out of body experiences like that. Some
Yeah.
mystics probably could do it willfully. Like I was reading, I think I told you briefly. I read this book by some guy who could do it, learn how to do it, named like Robert Monroe.
Yeah.
And, let's see. Yeah, and he was basically trying to describe like, you know, like, yeah, just like what he discovered from these things and traveling to like different like I don't know. It's a lot. It's very interesting. That's all I have to say. Like one place he calls.
Is
him,
this
like,
Nostradamus?
no? This is a different dude.
Oh.
But he was saying like, I mean they're all related, I guess. In the Nostradamus book, sorry to keep jumping around. Like I
No.
I just finished a chapter. So the author grew up in like Colorado, someplace like near canyons and were like mountains, like beautiful places, but also dangerous. You know.
Yeah.
And he said that he remembers. He didn't like make the connection until like 40 years later, but apparently as a kid, actually, he remembered that there would be times when people would foresee like some like a disaster or whatever, something, because they lived in dangerous place before it occurred.
Yeah.
And like I think one time at school, they're like, oh, we're all gonna leave today because of something, or well, there's like a cloud burst or something. So
Yeah.
storm didn't happen or whatever. But like apparently that's like an ability we have that
To see it coming.
yeah, like even Lincoln apparently had premonitions, like dreams that he would be before his assassination. I think JFK, a lot of people
Yeah.
interspersed in the U.S. also had like a dream or something related to that.
Do you know what happened to me? I don't know when this happened. I mean, it was either Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but this was great. I've always had this thing of trying to make friends with death.
Right.
I have spoken to this.
Right.
Yeah. And all of a sudden I had a breakthrough on that. And I realized, Andrew, that I'm terrified of death. I'm afraid. And that's, my mind set up this firewall of bravado about death. But the truth of it is, I'm terrified of death. I'm scared of death. And I'm not the idea. I'm terrified of it happening because I'm getting old. And all of a sudden, when I saw that, I mean, it was very humbling. You know, to me, all of a sudden, to realize that I'm very close to death because I'm an old guy. You know what I mean? Like within the next 5 years, there's a good chance that I'll meet my maker. And in order to do that, I have to navigate this experience we all call death. And, you know, for most people, it's just a word. But all of a sudden, I see that there's a reality behind this. And, you know, I have to go through this experience of experiencing it. And it became, in one way, I think it's very funny. In another way, it's very terrifying. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, it's the end of this. It's the end of this reality that I know. And so all of a sudden, I had, it was a very, I was very happy that I had this experience, but very frightened by it. You know what I mean? It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
have you ever had like out of body things or anything like near death experience?
you've asked me that, and I've tried to think of that, and as far as I know, I have not.
That's pretty rare for most people. And
Yeah.
even not everybody who has like some like near death or everything experiences like an out of body. There's a lot of literature on it. If it's
Yeah.
on it, if it could.
Do you know the one thing that I have in response to that, when you asked me that question, one of the things that I realized is that I do like the one time I took acid, LSD, you know, I realized that I was terrified of it. Of LSD as soon as I took it. And so I just controlled it with my mind.
Oh, interesting.
And the mind I saw in that moment had this incredible power. It was much more powerful than the LSD. My mind.
Wow.
Yeah, your mind is constantly constructing reality for you. And you tell it how to do it from inside. Us as human beings are constantly formatting and structuring this reality that we live from moment to moment. It's incredible.
Yeah, that.
You know.
Did you intuit that yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that lines up with like what quantum physicians and stuff are saying, like something about observers, like. Yeah, like the fact that a house exists is because we all see it or whatever.
Yes.
And like maybe when we turn away, if we all like universally turn away.
What's really intriguing about it in my mind is that we have the ability to be a witness, to witness what's happening, but the role of the witness is somehow separate from our conscious faculties. In other words, if I would separate it, I would separate it into consciousness, which sees and knows everything, and awareness, where awareness is this incredibly almost repressive. Awareness is very passive, and it sees, it knows, and so that that role of the witness is somehow more powerful than even consciousness. It's really weird, and both things are one and the same thing.
Yeah,
It's-
I wanted to touch on that because you reminded me of the Rob Monroe's book that I just read. Because you had a painting where it was like the white man, the black man, the red man.
yeah.
And then you had the etheric man.
The ethereal man.
The ethereal, which is.
The ethereal man is the witness, is awareness itself.
So like in the book, Monroe, he describes like we have a second body, which he describes basically as the etheric self. So according to, I think mystics would probably agree with this, is that we have our physical body, but we also have like an ethereal body that's connected to with a cord, ethereal cord or some sort.
Really?
So, and he was saying how when he was, I think he was saying how consciousness, like when you're in the ethereal realm or whatever, your waking consciousness isn't like it's only a part of like all the other, like there's conscious, subconscious, unconscious, and maybe even a superconscious, whatever.
Yeah.
But your consciousness is only like, you can only be in a symbiotic relationship with the rest. You're not in control, basically, what they say. And and I found that interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know one of the things that I realized as a child,
Yeah.
and I never put this into words, but I believe, into it, that as you're growing up, somebody tells you about the boogeyman.
Right.
And the child's mind makes an intriguing thing out of the boogeyman. It becomes afraid. But what you do is you structure reality to prevent the boogeyman from getting you. And so there perhaps could be a billion entities surrounding us, threatening dire things to us, or loving us, or being ambivalent toward us. There's all the realm. But as a child, we say, fuck that. I'm going to create this the way I want to. And the child, in his creative imagination, has the power to do that. And does it automatically with hardly even thinking. And so that is the social construct of me creating society.
Wait, no question. Wait, when did you intuit this? Did you say you intuited this as a child?
Yes.
Like how old?
When I was 12 or 10 or 12.
You realized this thing about the boogeyman on that?
Yeah.
And the entities?
And the way it happened to me, is my mom told me to go to the store. The store was about 100 yards away,
right.
And so it was night, and I ran outside, and I was going to run to the store, and all of a sudden I thought, what if they're behind the tree? What if the evil spirits are behind the tree?
Okay.
And I thought, and all of a sudden I was overcome with fear. And so I thought, what do I do with this fear? So what I did is very slowly walked around every tree in the yard to make the spirit evaporate. And so then once I knew they weren't there, I wasn't scared anymore. And then I ran to the store. But that experience gave me the power. And I understood that the spirit, the evil spirit, might be invisible, but I chased them away by walking around the tree.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
You remind me of like in the cartoons or even the stories when like the moral of the story is like your fear of it is the enemy. So like once So once like the main character gets the courage to like stand up to these
Yes.
fears, which is actually just a metaphor for standing up to your fear, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And like the story.
Right.
It's like yes, good ending.
Yeah. Well,
is that what you're touching upon?
I think it's a bit and a part of all of it. In other words, you don't know as a child, the real threat, but you only know your imagined threats. And so that's what you deal with. And in doing that, I must admit that you become dumber. That's my experience of that. In other words, by walking around the tree, you make reality conform to your wishes.
This is okay.
You know what I mean? And so, then you puff up your chest and are brave.
Oh, okay.
And you've conquered nothing, but you've conquered the world.
Wait, I'm confused. Because I'm confused of like this, like if you're like, so from what you know now, is there like would you have done it differently? What should you have done instead, or are you just observing?
I'm still doing it. I'm still, in reading the Tao, I see that the world is more complex than I thought, but I have to navigate that. I can't look away. I have to deal with that. And so in dealing with that, I draw it into my worldview. I control it. That's what it is to be alive. You must, you're looking for the surface to breathe free. And you create that. You create the ability to be here, to do this, to live. Mm-hmm. And you're doing it, you think you might be doing it once a day. You're doing it every microsecond you are alive. We are the creator. We're creating all this. And so that's the hint that's available to us. Mm-hmm. That's how I see it. You know what I mean?
Well, I have a question about when you are the kid. So like, it reminded me of saying like we want to identify something or to feel attainment, right?
Yeah.
But are you saying you would have done something differently if you could go back?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is she sleeping? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe we should have done it later.
I couldn't do it any differently, and the truth be told, I'm still a baby on the path. Mm. Do you know? In other words, Krishnamurti says it's a pathless land, right. But I'm still trying to walk the path. I'm still trying to find something. Mm-hmm. I'm still trying to honor the truth, even if maybe the truth doesn't exist. But, in other words, you become, as you grow old, you become terribly cynical. And so you must fight to make something positive. And that's where the idea of the Renaissance comes from. Mm. In other words, create a story that lifts us up. Mm. There's no point in creating the story that tears us down. Mm-hmm. I want to lift us up. And the reason I want to lift us up is, number one, for my own existence, but also to share with my family, my community, and the world. If you take responsibility for the world in some way, even a tiny way, you can survive in it. But if you diss the world and say, I only am going to take care of me, then in that separation, you fall on your face. You have to take responsibility for the world. There is no other choice. You don't have a choice about that. We are the world. You are the world. That's the way it works. It's a paradox. Again and again and again and again, it's a paradox. Do you know, so
the self-preservation thing, and then,
huh?
well, yeah, you just remind me of like the self-preservation thing,
Yeah.
and then like, but you still have to, like, you have to lift your community somehow, but it's also their job to self-preserve for themselves, basically.
Yes. And what's really the greatest humor to this whole thing is when you're walking along the street and you look over and the guy in bedraggled clothes and looked like he's hungry, saying, "The end of the world is nigh." Okay, that's your opinion, but it's not even close, because you're creating the world, and it's your, we are all creating this. That's what's happening. And so when do you want to throw up your arms and say, "I quit"? There's no point to it. There's no point to it. The only point is to put some more loving energy into it and see how it flourishes from your input. That's and what's really amazing is each and every human being has immense power. Well, you think you don't, but each human being is a force to be reckoned with. You know what I mean? And so, that's why it's so neat to do this way. That's one man's humble opinion.
This reminds me of something. Sometimes I think about is like, I mean, it's probably irrelevant for us, because like sometimes I project like in the future, like, because history textbooks, like a cynical point of view or a realist point of view. I don't know how you want to describe it. It's
Yes.
like human nature is human nature. Like tribes have always been like fighting. People have always been competing for land. Wars and all that.
Yes.
And like one could say, oh, that's just never gonna stop. Or maybe we could evolve some way.
Yeah.
In like the distant future, but I don't know if I don't know if even. I don't know if in my lifetime to see anything like that.
Would it be fair to say it this way, Andrew? Is that we're caught between looking at reality and diagnosing it accurately and saying, "Holy shit, the sky is falling. What are we gonna do about it?" In other words, we have to also be realists in all of this.
I mean, yeah. Like my mentality personally these days now is just like, I don't even care if there's utopia anymore or anything. I just need to do my life the best as I can, or get through it.
Yes.
Regardless of not if like the world is eventually gonna end, or if it should be some like whatever,
Yes. Yeah. I think that, the biggest thing I think, Andrew, is to have a sense of humor about it.
Right.
Yeah, because if you sit back and look at this, it's very funny. Every night before I go to sleep, I start chuckling about this, because the world is a very funny place. It has all these divergent energies clashing and confronting each other. And in the middle of it all is your tiny little brain coping with it. You're coping. And so just the fact that you're coping with it is that's the greatest joke in the world. I mean, can it survive? Can you solve the problems of the universe? Well, of course, initially your answer is, I can't. But you're doing it every day. You already are solving life's problems, and you do it minute by minute. So it's already happening. You are a force to be reckoned with. Don't ever diminish that. Always take credit for the beauty that you are. You already are a magnificent flowering of beauty. That's what the human being is. I think. No, you're making fun of me now.
No, I'm not. That was actually very. I was like, that was a really good presentation.
But
That's
I think that's what it's happening. You know, one man's humble opinion.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So we didn't tape any of that.
No, we did.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I guess it kept it.
Yeah.
rolling, I guess.
You know,
Yeah.
Andrew, just put it together so it sounds positive and gives people hope.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredibly important to give people something to hold on to, because most people don't think of this shit. Most people aren't thinking about this, but they are affected by it. And giving them just a little bit to hang on to is very important to get them through the next day, because they'll figure it out. People aren't dumb. They will figure it out. It's just taking longer for some folk.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This is a little bit like maybe not real related, but you know how the yin and yang, is that the symbol of the Tao, the yin and yang, or is that separate?
That's a great question,
Well,
because as I'm reading, I can't figure out what the hell a Tao is, but I do recognize, Andrew, that I've been using it my whole life. When I carved something, I was using the Tao. You know, when I wrote a story, I was using the Tao. You know, and you know, you've been using the Tao, but I would recommend it highly as a study, not as a book to read, but as something to study and to, you know, because to allow the mystery to permeate you is also a brave thing. It's like loving somebody. When you love somebody, you make yourself tremendously vulnerable. But in doing that, you also make yourself very, very brave, because you do that without restraint, without protection, without knowing how it will end. And that is power. That is ultimate power. One man's humble opinion. Life is love and love is life. We can't change that. That's what we're doing.
Well, I have a question about this, from like, what would your response be, say, to somebody who says that, like, well, I have two questions. Can you explain what draws you to somebody in particular, or is that just something that you're just pulled to, like you just can't really figure, you just know you have to like be with this person, or like reach out and see if there's, you know what I'm saying? Or so that's like one question I have, is like,
That's an easy one. That's an easy one. Do you know what it is? Is that spend some time convincing yourself to trust yourself. The answer is within you. The power is within you, and faith is a really curious thing, because we believe things that we don't know. And we use that word when we don't know. When you know something, you know it. But when you meet somebody, or when you read something, look for its response within you. And that experience, that little tiny experience that gets triggered by meeting somebody, by looking at a beautiful face, by reading something, practice your knowing response to that, and you will get stronger at knowing what you know. You know what I mean? It's there. We have tremendous power, but we haven't, society, it's like religion. The baby. Oh, is it? So, do you know, what was the other question? I'm
Oh
probably.
no, yeah, that was just I think that was just related to that. Is like yeah.
It's wonderful, Andrew, to practice trusting yourself. There is, you know, don't abuse yourself, trust yourself, and practice sometime during the day being quiet with yourself and knowing who you are. And that's called meditation. You know what I mean? And you don't have to do it long. 5 minutes a day will do it. Just be quiet with yourself for 5 minutes a day. And that is practice knowing yourself. You know, one man's humble opinion.
Yeah, no, I asked you that because it's interesting because like I'll because we'll meet like a lot of different people in a day. We'll interact with a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
But like even when I'm at work or something, I'll be like, oh, this person's energy, I can tell like there's not really a complete resonance there.
Right,
I
right.
can like appreciate though that like their company or like their vibe even and like everything. But I feel like feeling like okay, yeah, this person we're not really. But with you, obviously, yeah, just I feel like a lot of resonance, But like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Your word is perfect, a resonance. When you resonate with somebody, all of a sudden you're on the same frequency level.
So that's like the knowing that you have to.
That's the knowing. And not only that, but I always add one more component to that is always fun, is that, there's things that I don't know. So I want to always raise my frequency level. I want to pay attention to what's happening around me so that there's always one of the things I'm so grateful for is that I'm continuing to learn stuff. Like studying this Tao, I'm learning stuff. And I'm 79. I'm an old fart learning stuff. It couldn't get any better. It's great, So there's always that too, Learning stuff is great. Your mind never gets tired of learning. Your mind always responds in a positive way to learning new things.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's cool. It's nice having you as a friend, Andrew, because I always feel like you're smarter than me, so I learned something.
I grew up in a different era.
Yeah,
You're smarter than me in many ways.
Yeah.
I just grew up with the internet, so if I have a question, I can just ask Google and get all these million perspectives.
Right.
I can find books about it, and you couldn't necessarily get in a library. So
Yeah.
different times.
That's great. I love that. My son-in-law, Danny, says the same thing.
Yeah.
This has been a good session, Andrew. It's been fun.
Did you have any other things you wanted to talk about or explore?
I was gonna do that other thing we talked about, but Suz warned me off. And should I? What do you think?
We don't have to do anything. We don't have to do it today or anything.
Let's save that maybe for another day.
Yeah.
Let me think on that because, I've always been too impulsive and reactionary, and I'm not the smartest guy around. So, everything in this session could be false too,
Well, it's the paradox.
Yeah, that's the paradox.
Yeah.
So, be flexible, and I sometimes, like in addressing that other issue we're talking about, I think, oh, I know, but maybe I don't. Maybe I need to think about that more, and let me work on that, Andrew. It's good to. You're very tolerant of my whims, Andrew.
I also have to change my mind a lot, or sometimes, after starting to read these two books, I'm like, well, it's like having a glass sculpture that's like your conception. You just break it. You're like, well, I guess I'm everything. It's like time to reconstruct whatever I thought was reality or whatever.
Yeah. Do you know if you go back and think, well, what did I think 5 years ago?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you compare it with what you think now. You know, we are a machine, a mental machine that is constantly evolving
Yeah,
and mulling.
I was just thinking how like I'm like wow, in school and college all we learned is like the Western philosophers. I'm like that's such a limited view of the world.
Yes,
I was just
yes,
thinking
yeah.
because now I'm reading about right the East and stuff and like all these other things that nobody talks about where people think there's taboo when there's sexual love.
Yeah. And you know,
That's the
it,
thing about you said that's we're only using a very small part of our power, brain, mind, whatever you want to call it.
yeah, if we point this thing we call a mind at anything, it changes it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it really changes it. And it changes it because we're doing something inside that uh, re-navigates it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Looks at it again, turns it upside down,
Right.
bends it over and looks up its anus. I mean, we're looking at shit. And that's what's great fun. I mean, you gotta do that. I mean, that's one of the greatest pleasures of life is to learn stuff.
Right.
I mean, as long as you're learning stuff, you're having fun, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to expand this. And that's the difference between maybe information and enlightenment, where enlightenment happens and then you know, but I'm not there, so I just have to keep on learning stuff. So
well, you know what they say? They say if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him or whatever.
yeah,
You're enlightened, basically. You're not.
yeah. I know.
That's why I don't like those words, actually, because like there's sometimes people critique like because the spiritual community actually is also can fall in the traps of the ego.
Yes.
I'm enlightened, or like yes, this person's my, or whatever they make up words that like ascension or something.
Yeah.
I mean ascension. I don't know. It can be an ego trip. I'm higher frequency than blah blah blah.
Yeah. Do you know, to quote one of the old mystics that I read, the ego is terrified of the truth, and the truth is the ego doesn't exist. And that's again the paradox of how we're navigating this reality, because we're navigating it with something that doesn't exist. Think of that. I mean, that's amazing. And we all have these egos. We all have this me. I mean, I'm not above that or aside from that. That's what I'm navigating reality with. And also the question of consciousness lays there. How to navigate that? What is that? What is this thing that we are using to understand this universe we live in? We don't know. That's an intriguing question, and I'm very interested if somebody has input about that and can explain that, and so that's why I do this consciousness and the content of consciousness, and that realizing that consciousness is no thing and that's me, and then realizing that I'm terrified of no thingness. Maybe that represents death to me. And like I just explained to you earlier, that my discovery that I was being so brave about death, but that really the truth of it is I'm terrified of it. And so, this consciousness can absorb all this information and process it and gives feedback to this body, you know what I mean? So, a baby on the path. I'm still a baby on the path, so it's, I don't know. Is that good for today?
Yeah, that's good,
Yeah. There's a lot of material there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's been on the whole time?
Oh yeah, I guess it has been. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That'll give you some stuff.